Hey, I'm Jay, and you're listening to the More Than podcast. I'm a former Miss Arizona USA, professional model, confidence coach, and red carpet host. Don't let those titles fool you, though. I'm a 30-year-old overly curious woman who loves to connect with others over the good, the bad, and the hilarious parts of our stories. From the outside looking in, my 20s looked really glamorous, but in reality, I struggled deeply with my confidence, self-worth, and mental health. I went on a deep healing journey to figure out how to live a life that felt as fulfilling as it looked, and now I help you do that too. I'm not afraid to go deep, and our guests aren't either. We talk all about mindset, mental health, confidence, relationships, beauty, boundaries, business, fashion, while giving you tangible tools for your own growth. This is one of those girl chats that leave you feeling inspired and empower you to stop settling and create a life you love. You're so much more than whatever's holding you back, and I'm so glad you're here. What's up, fam? Welcome back to the More Than podcast. There are so many new listeners and new faces around here. So for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, or if you've just discovered the More Than podcast in the last month or so, I want to say, hey, my name is Jordan, but most people call me Jay, and I'm so excited that you're here. This podcast has been around for over 4 years now. So we have 100 episodes for you to go binge listen to, highlighting the stories of so many incredible, multifaceted women. We dive into the topics of mental health and wellness and confidence, and just have real conversations about issues that affect women everywhere. We laugh, we cry, we just have good old-fashioned girl talk. But I want to speak to those of you who have been part of our More Than movement since the beginning, because today is a really big episode. I launched this podcast when I was 26 years old. So just for some context, I was modeling professionally in New York City. I came up with the idea of More Than for being live events where women could meet each other and connect in person over topics like mental health and confidence and create real friendships. Because let's face it, when you get out of college, it's hard to make friends in your 20s, in your 30s, even in your 40s, 50s. So I wanted to cultivate these environments where women could come and just mingle and get to know each other on a deeper level. So I get my business license for More Than Inc. on March 1st, and then we all know what happened middle of March of 2020. So I am back home in Arizona temporarily with my mom, waiting for New York City to kind of get back to normal. And I got this idea, hey, why don't I just start a podcast in the meantime? I have all this time now. I'm connected with these incredible women that have the most amazing stories that have really impacted my life over the last year. What if I bring them onto the podcast and have these conversations so women all over the world can tune in and be inspired? So I taught myself how the heck to do a podcast. I ordered all the equipment on Amazon and started recording in my mom's closet. And I had no idea when I started this podcast that it was going to become the highlight of my career and become something that fills me with so much joy. You guys have really allowed me to grow and evolve in front of the mic. I look back at some of those past episodes and I'm like, holy moly. She was going through it in her mid-20s, having an identity crisis, switching up her career, trying to figure out who she is. I had been dating my boyfriend for 6 years at that point. You guys saw me get engaged. You saw me move states, buy a house, get married. And just a couple months ago, I announced that I am expecting my first baby in January. So y'all, it's been a crazy 4 years, to say the least. And I have worked my absolute butt off to get the More Than podcast to the place that it now is at. I just have to share some milestone career highlights with y'all because our growth has been very slow and steady. We've had a handful of the most incredible members from all over the world since the beginning who are the first to tune into every episode. You share every episode. You've rated and reviewed the show. You buy all of our merch, and I see you guys. I love you guys so much. You guys have become like family. But like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of new faces here in the past month, and we have reached numbers that I used to only ever dream of. So I want to share some of these with you guys. So just on social media alone, in the last 30 days, we've had 2.2 million impressions, just sharing podcast clips with some of our incredible guests. So we've had Mari Llewellyn, we had Ishgra Lawrence, we had Katie Bigger, and we had Najreen. And all of them came with unbelievable communities of their own that were looking for a podcast like More Than and have joined our family. So to have over 2.2 million impressions, a major deal. And just in the last week, we've had 136,000 downloads. Y'all, for a small independent podcast show, these numbers are unheard of. There's been multiple times over the last 4 years where I've talked with different networks about bringing on the podcast, and it always comes down to just our numbers, that they need to be higher. They wanted 10,000 downloads per episode before we could even get in discussions with getting signed on. And I really transitioned in season 5, so in this last year, to focusing on the More Than podcast as my full-time job, as a business, to get it to this level. And I can't tell you how damn good it feels to have finally accomplished that. And I can only attest that success to you guys. So thank you so much. If you've been around here for a long time, you know that I am an open book. I share a lot of my life with you guys. I always have. But in season 5, we leveled up in so many ways, starting with this gorgeous studio. I record out of the YA studio in Austin, Texas. If you're wanting to start a podcast or you need just a production space, I can't recommend this studio more. It's been a game changer for me, and it allowed me to start viewing this podcast as my business, because I get to actually get dressed up and go into the studio and report to my job instead of it just being me and my mic in the corner office of my house. So that was a big transition. And I brought on help finally to be able to edit this podcast, to bring more guests on. We've come out with 30 episodes. And we've highlighted so many incredible Austin-based creators, and their stories have just really resonated with you guys. And it's inspired me so much as an individual. And I hear from you guys after every single episode how inspired you guys are. And it's just been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. Like I said, I haven't been solo on the mic for a hot second. I think I announced my pregnancy on the podcast in August, but a little known fact is that we launched season 5 on April 22nd, and I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks later. And for most smart podcasters and strategic podcasters, they bulk record a whole bunch of guest episodes and episodes in general so that they have a ton to be able to release, and then can just kind of build up this bank of episodes so you're never just stressed for episodes the week of. And I love that in theory. But when I was doing these in-person episodes with these guests, I wanted to be able to release the episodes in real time. The stuff they're talking about, the stuff with their businesses, the things that they're going through in their life, they're going through right now. And I wanted their stories to be able to come out in real time so that our audience can connect with them in real time, not record an episode and then release it in 2 months when so much other stuff has now happened in their life. So I made a decision that just felt right at the time, that I was just going to record in real life. This is now my full-time job, and was just going to be pumping out these episodes. I also launched a mini series every Monday called Mindset Monday. And those were solo episodes just filled with motivation and things I was doing to shift my mindset. And between the Mindset Monday episodes and the guest episodes, it was a hell of a lot of work. and I loved it. It was fantastic. It was amazing. But when I found out I was pregnant, those first trimester symptoms got the best of me in a lot of ways. I was good up until about 6 weeks, and then 6 weeks hit, and y'all, it was hard. But you were my driving force throughout my first trimester to show up and get shit done. And I'm so grateful looking back that I had you guys and that I had this podcast that was fueling so much of me, because although it was fueling this passion and it gave me so much purpose, I think on an even deeper level, for those of you who haven't been around for a while and you didn't listen to season 4 of the podcast, I had opened up that about a year ago, I had experienced a miscarriage. And when I was going through that, we weren't live in a podcast season. And so it was a really isolating healing journey for me. And I made the decision to come on the mic and talk to you guys about it pretty much during real time while I was healing, while I was going through it, to not only raise awareness, but destigmatize it, because I learned that 1 in 4 women experience a miscarriage. And by making the decision to be so vulnerable and honest with you guys on the podcast, so many of you, even close friends of mine in real life, opened up to me that they had also experienced a loss. And it was just a very healing, therapeutic journey for me. And when I came into season 5, I felt like a better version of myself because we had gotten to that vulnerable level together months prior, and even more determined to just continue being real and authentic and open and honest with you guys about what I was going through, because I saw the impact that it was making in real time. And I also felt the impact it was making on me by not suffering in silence. So on an even deeper level, going through my first trimester, I was so riddled with anxiety and fear that I was going to experience loss again. And when I wasn't busy, when I wasn't recording, when I wasn't doing outreach, when I wasn't editing, when I wasn't doing all the behind the scenes stuff of this podcast, is when that anxiety and that fear would really sneak up on me. And I think in some ways it was a defense mechanism to just keep being really, really busy. So I almost didn't get like, quote unquote, too attached, even though that's impossible. Baby's growing inside of me. But to kind of protect myself in case something happened. And unfortunately, I think that was kind of my mindset throughout the majority of my pregnancy. I didn't allow myself to really just get excited and share the news with nothing but excitement, because there was always so much anxiety and so much hesitation there, which is why I waited quite a while to tell you guys that I was actually pregnant. And since you heard from me in that episode, there's just been a lot going on in my personal life. And I made the decision for self-preservation to not speak about it in real time because I couldn't. And I'm finally to a place where I want to talk to you guys about it, because I've learned a lot about myself over the last, gosh, what has it been? A month and a half, 2 months? And also to just talk honestly about what this journey of becoming a mom is like, because I've learned it's so different for everybody. And the More Than podcast and More Than the company is all about embracing being multifaceted and knowing that you can wear so many different hats and play so many different roles. You don't just have to be one thing. And part of me got really nervous when I found out I was pregnant, that if I didn't have my business, if I didn't have my podcast, if I didn't reach a certain level of success prior to my baby coming, then I would have failed. And I didn't want to be, quote unquote, just a mom. And I didn't want my identity or my passion to be taken away in this new role. So I've had a lot of mental work that I've had to do and emotional work to just overcome that, because again, I genuinely to my core believe that you can be so multifaceted, and it's okay to want it all, and it's okay to have it all, but maybe we just can't have it all at the same time. And by me pushing so hard on my business and neglecting the other part of myself, my health really suffered. And that's what I want to kind of open up to you guys about. So throughout my first trimester, as I mentioned, I was super, super sick. Everyone kept saying, like, just get to your second trimester and you will feel so much better and you'll have this glow and your energy will come back. So I was basically doing like a countdown of like, okay, when I hit 14 weeks, I better turn this corner and feel so much better. So I had so much work prepared to really kick off at like week 14. And I genuinely believed that I would be recording up until like the day I gave birth, because I absolutely love doing this. Like, why not? I'll do it as long as I can. So week 14 hit. A miracle didn't happen overnight. Instead, I started feeling 10 times worse. My sickest I've been was from week 14 to week 20. And I'm talking if I came into the studio and recorded one day, or if I ran errands, or if I spent an afternoon editing on the computer, the next day, I literally couldn't get out of bed. I had these horrible migraines. I was so exhausted, so nauseous, I couldn't even move. It was just a really weird experience, because I had just had it in my head that like all of these symptoms should go away by now. And I remember talking with my husband during the summer and just saying, like, I feel so guilty for saying this, but I do not like being pregnant. Like, I wanted this so badly. I want this so badly. I want a healthy baby here. But this journey is so much harder than I ever anticipated. It's given me such a newfound respect for women in general and what we go through in order to bring new life into this world. And I know becoming a mother is not something that every single woman wants, which I completely respect and understand. It is something you have to really, really want, because it takes a toll mentally, emotionally, physically. And for me personally, I didn't really turn the mental corner of starting to enjoy pregnancy until I hit week 20. So week 20, I finally allowed myself to just unplug for a little bit. We went on a vacation to go see my mother-in-law in Minnesota, and I logged off work. I wasn't recording. I was trying to just limit my stress as much as possible. And it was the first time I ever felt baby girl move, which I think the mind-body connection just became so much stronger once I could actually like feel her move, and it helped a lot with the anxiety too. But I allowed myself to finally start getting excited. We started buying baby clothes, which little girl clothes is the cutest thing in the entire world. Like, I can't help myself. I can't stop. This girl is going to be so beyond fashionable. She already has better style than I do, but that helped a lot too. And I hadn't purchased anything or even thought about a nursery or thought about any of that stuff. I think, again, just out of fear and self-preservation. And once I allowed myself to do that, it just became that much more fun. Then I started feeling a little bit better. So it was like, okay, now we're like hitting my stride, and I'm just going to ride this out for the rest of my pregnancy. I am back to work. I am going to start doing 2 episodes a week again. We are going to take this pod to the next level. I go to my anatomy scan at 20 weeks. It was just over 20 weeks. And the anatomy scan's so fun because you get to see your baby in like 4D. It's so zoomed in, hyper fixated that you can see their fingers and their toes and their nose and their brain and their bones. And like, it is just wild. It's so much more clear than a normal ultrasound machine. So we get to see baby and we're told she's perfect. Everything looks great. And it was such a relief And yeah, I just really felt like, okay, I'm hitting my stride and things are balancing out in the way that I'm feeling, and I can focus now more on my business and start prepping for baby to get here and all that exciting stuff. So we secure some huge sponsorship deals, and I'm getting ready on a Friday to come in and record with Nazarene, actually. And I get a call from a fetal cardiologist specialist who tells me that there's something wrong with baby girl's heart. And in far too scientific, specific terms, she tells me exactly what they saw, exactly what that could imply, and exactly what next steps could be if it didn't self-correct. And I felt like my entire world just stopped. Like there is no more helpless feeling than not being able to control what's going on inside of your own body and not feeling like I could help, not feel like I could do anything. All we were told was you need to wait for at least 3 weeks so she can get bigger and things can develop more. And then we're going to see the specialist. We're going to have a really special test. And then from there, depending on what those results are, then you'll see another specialist. And if it gets to this point, then she'll have fetal heart surgery while she's still inside of your belly. If that doesn't work, she'll have heart surgery when she's born. Y'all, that was hard. And I took a couple days of completely just shutting off and allowing myself to just be heartbroken. I mean, it's a heartbreaking news to hear. And I had rescheduled that interview with Nazarene, by the way. She was unbelievable, and thankfully it didn't end up working out for her on that day either. And all the specialists told me that I could do was limit stress, because your body doesn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. So limit stress, get a lot of rest, and wear a seatbelt. And I'm like, okay, well, now I am stressed out of my mind. Yes, I can wear a seatbelt, but like there has to be something else I can do. And really all in my mind I could shift and focus on was I am going to literally shut my brain off and try and take care of myself in the best way I know how so that she can just grow and develop, and pray that everything self-corrects over the next couple weeks. So I started comparing like the prenatals that I was taking with other prenatals, and I found this unbelievable company that their vitamins and minerals that are inside of the prenatals was astronomically higher, and you take 8 pills in a day instead of 2. And I also started an iron supplement and 2 fish oil supplements. So I was taking a lot more. The company's called Fullwell, and they've been absolutely unbelievable. I had reached out to them, explained what was going on, just saying like I wanted all the nutrients and vitamins I could possibly get. They got me set up on their whole program. I started sleeping like a mad woman and not setting my alarm clock. Or actually, let me correct that. I would set my alarm clock to get up, and my husband would shut my alarm off every single morning so that I would just wake up whenever I naturally woke up. And I started just hyperfixating on things I could control, like wallpaper. So if you follow me on social media, you would have noticed that for about 2 weeks there, I was just really hyperfixated on wallpaper and getting her nursery together and getting the nursery closet together and trying to just focus on things that were just really bringing me joy and allowing me to really get connected with my body. And part of eliminating the stress was taking the pressure off of myself with work. And I am such a perfectionist and overachiever that was really, really difficult for me. But I started noticing that once some of that stress was alleviated, that I could just feel a little bit more relaxed in my body. So fast forward 3 weeks later, we get a fetal echocardiogram and meet with the specialist. And by the grace of God, everything had self-corrected. And there was even more stuff that they hadn't initially told me. Thank God they didn't. And everything looked perfect. And it's an absolute blessing and a miracle, and something that I will never know if anything that I did helped in any way. I think it truly is just power of prayer and just giving her space to grow and be healthy. But something that I learned in those couple weeks is how important this chapter is to me, that I've been trying to just cram as much in during my pregnancy as possible so that I could feel accomplished professionally prior to having a child. And I realized that a lot of that pressure was just something that I was placing on myself, and that nothing that I achieved professionally was going to matter if I didn't have a healthy baby and if I didn't have my own health. And something else that happened during that whole fun chapter is I go into a dermatologist because suddenly I started developing eczema, which apparently happens when you're pregnant. So I went in there for that, and I had 2 moles removed that they thought were skin cancer. So there's just a lot going on for about a month and a half there that just felt very out of my control. And once I started just taking a step back and really focusing on my health and trying to just slow down a little bit, all the health issues went away. Everything looks good. And I'm just starting to feel a lot better. So knowing that so much was going on in my personal life and in my health, and still having this pull that I didn't want to disappoint myself professionally, or I didn't want to disappoint you guys professionally, was kind of an interesting feeling that I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. That if you're anything like me, just putting so much pressure on yourself to be the best you can possibly be at whatever is really important to you, whether that's your career or it's a hobby or it's relationship or it's your family or it's friendships or whatever it is, this self-placed pressure can be all-consuming. And sometimes it just takes us taking a step back and reevaluating what is really important to me right now. What do I want to focus on right now? And know that just because you take your foot off the gas a little bit in one area of your life doesn't mean that area of your life is going to stop. So when I got back to work, and in the last 2 months, we've had our highest performing guest episodes of all time. And for good reason. Those episodes are absolutely unbelievable. Every episode that we've had in season 5 has been so unique and different and amazing, but you guys have really leaned in to the last 4, and seeing those unbelievable numbers and seeing that all of this momentum and everything that I've been working for is now coming true. And having different discussions with podcast networks and different sponsors that want to come onto the show, I've just been feeling a really big pull, for whatever reason, that it's time to call it a wrap on season 5 of the podcast. And even though it doesn't make sense to do from a business standpoint, because we have all of this incredible momentum, for some reason, I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I feel like I need to lean in more to this other side of my life and really taking care of myself and preparing mentally, emotionally, physically to become a mom, and kind of lean into that season of my life a little bit more. And so with all that being said, this is going to be the finale of season 5 of the More Than podcast. This has been the most fulfilling season by far. It's been so much fun. This studio is genuinely my happy place. Being in front of this mic is my happy place. And trust me when I say that if I could just show up, be on the mic, talk to you guys for an hour, and then peace out and not have to deal with any of the other things that come with keeping a podcast afloat, I would podcast till the day I die every single week because it's so much fun. But in order to have a successful podcast show, there's a lot that goes into it. And I just don't have the bandwidth for it for the rest of this season. And I'm so proud of what we've been able to do. I'm so proud that we have 100 episodes. Did you guys know that most episodes or most podcasts that launch don't make it past 10 episodes? So the More Than Podcast is in the top 1% of podcasts that have been produced. Like, that is nuts and something that I'm so proud of. I hope you guys are so proud of that too, especially if you've just been a part of it since day one, because you guys are the reason that I just keep pumping out content and keep getting to connect with these unbelievable women. And eventually my goal is to be able to go to different cities and be able to have podcast episodes with women from all over the place and to have live podcast shows. And I can see so much of that in our future, which I'm so excited about. But it feels very surreal and very crazy to say that the next time you hear from me on the mic will be when babygirl is here. Nuts. We are in the final stretch, people. I am about to enter my 3rd trimester. We have Halloween, Thanksgiving, my baby shower, Christmas, and she is here. So it is go time to get your girl ready to become a mom and to still be able to just fuel all those other sides of myself and figure out exactly how I'm going to do that. You know, I'm learning and growing constantly, and thankfully for you guys, you've allowed me to learn and grow in front of you, in front of the camera, in front of the mic. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to a lot of the stuff that I'm saying right now, that leaning into an unknown season or an unknown chapter, starting something new or ending something before you feel ready. It's all emotional. It's all hard. It's all something that every single one of us has experienced. And I just really want to leave you guys with the encouragement that you are in control of your life. There's so much that's out of our control right now. There's so much going on in our world right now that is just overwhelming and crazy and exciting and scary, and navigating how to just be a healthy, happy human being in 2024 is hard work. And there's so many of you listening to the podcast that have really stepped into what it means to be multifaceted and have started passion projects or hobbies or businesses or podcasts or relationships or left relationships or moved to new cities. And I'm so freaking proud of you. And if it's on your heart that you want to do that, I encourage you to just lean in. You are in control of so much more than you think you are. And once you start controlling what you can control, life just becomes that much sweeter. So don't let life pass you by. Stop holding yourself back from things that you want to do because you're fearful. I had done a Mindset Monday episode called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. Highly encourage you to go listen to that. And to just take the rest of this year and make it what you need. Whether that is like me and you need rest and recovery, or if it's go time for you and you need to put your foot on the gas and you need to make some major changes. I encourage you to do what's best for you. And I'm trying to take my own advice and do the exact same thing for myself. And so, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for supporting and for listening and for loving and for sharing the More Than Podcast. Season 5 It's been the best, most exciting high of my career thus far. And I highly encourage you to go binge listen to the other 100 episodes that we have for you guys. And this will not be the last time you're hearing from me. It's just the last time in this season, because next time you hear from me, I'll have little baby girl here with me, which is crazy, crazy, crazy. So make sure you guys are following me on my personal social media, on my personal TikTok, on our company social media and TikTok. Those will still be live and active before the next season comes out. And I'm already brainstorming all of the sponsors and guests and topics that we're going to cover in next season. I'm already giddy and excited about it because I know that time is going to absolutely fly. But I wanted to give you guys an inside peek into what's been happening in my life, catch you up to speed, share, and also just leave you guys with a little bit of encouragement since we haven't had a Mindset Monday episode for a while. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for loving the show. You guys are the best. And I will see you in season 6 of the More Than podcast. Love you.